myself. Welcome to Northern BC Narratives on location. Today we have another amazing person by name of Kim. Kim, thank you very much to come on the show. Please introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
My name's Kenyon, and I whitewater stand-up paddleboard.
What is it?
So if you think about a kayak
Yeah.
that goes and paddles whitewater,
Yeah.
or you think about you get on a commercial raft
Yeah.
and you go down a river through some of the rapids, and it's all exciting. I do that, but on a
Yeah.
stand-up paddleboard.
Isn't that a little bit dangerous?
Depends on your definition of danger. So yeah, like there is a lot of hazard assessment, and there is a lot of like work towards skill building in order to be in an appropriate spot, I'd say.
You know, I never share this with anybody, but I'm going to tell you something funny. There was this guy in the Okanagan, right? I never rafted before, right? I did some rafting before, but you know, it's normal stuff. You go up and down, right?
Yeah.
This guy, he's like, hey, let's go on a rafting. I'm such a good trainer, all this. He's like, I'm trained, right? So he puts us all on this raft.
Did you say, trust me, I'm a raft guide?
Yeah. No, raft guide. No, what is it? That thing that, you know, it's not a, it's, yeah, I think it's a raft guide, right? He goes on turbulence, water. You go up on,
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, it's going to be a raft.
Anyway, so this guy is like, you know, hey, you know,
Yeah.
he's sleazy, you know, come. So we all go, right?
Yeah.
We go on his raft. Okay. He takes us in the most dangerous place. I don't remember the lake. In the most dangerous area that we had no idea. And then we find out we did not have any experience, right? So we go, right? We go in there. I'm like, oh man, this is so exciting. This is more exciting than the ones I've done before, right? So we go up and this and whatever, right? I don't know what happens. He goes to this area. The raft goes up, comes on, and it goes up and it flips.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody falls. I got stuck under a stone, right? I was
Yeah.
like, it was crazy. Everything stopped. I was like, I think I'm gonna die. I was just smiling. I was okay, here we go. And then somehow I freed myself. But it was crazy. Yeah. That was one of my most insane experience on a raft. But you do it on a paddleboard. Like how is that? Like,
yeah. So you guys
very,
probably got what they call it bus stop when everybody like gets unloaded out of the raft. So if you tip the raft and everybody gets unloaded, they call it a bus stop.
Yeah.
So you guys got tossed, and you probably experienced like the swimming part of it, which I think if you're not used to swimming, especially like bigger water, like class 3 to 4 water, then you're probably going to be completely disorientated, to be honest.
No, I'm very good at swimming, right?
Yeah.
What this thing was pulling me, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm like, what do I do?
It depends on how the hydraulics are working in the water. So that just comes with experience, which is really a thing that obviously your excited guide had no dealings with. So
it was crazy.
Yeah.
Listen, and then everybody's like, you know, everybody's like destroyed. People lost, you know, some of the stuff. People are like all crazy. You know, it was insane. Some people were on the other side. Like everybody pulled themselves out, and everyone was like, like this. And he's like, he disappeared. Anyway, it's a long story. We have to walk and then go on. He's sitting in this bar. He's all relaxed. I said, man, people almost
What
died.
happened? Yeah.
What happened to you? It was something.
Trying to find those guys.
Yeah.
I actually do have some friends that over the years, they every now and again pick up randoms to like go rafting with them.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you cross paths with those ones or not, but it's definitely very interesting. So.
It was a very interesting story. I totally forgot about this story, but as soon as I said rafting, I remember that day, that fateful day.
Yeah, I think like getting involved with rivers, like without a whole lot of experience, especially like bigger, more powerful, it's not the safest thing to do, but a big thing about the river is like you always want to be wearing a life vest. I think.
No, we had a life vest.
Yeah, so that's absolutely key.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to, if he was running you guys without life vest, that would be a big no-go.
He didn't give us helmet. That was a problem. I remember that. He didn't give anybody helmets. I think because I hit my head on a stone when I was going down. And he didn't give us, I just remember, he didn't give us helmet. But he sold it so beautifully. He's like,
oh yeah.
It was like,
people get really excited about the river. Like, and that's the one thing is like, if you see me on the water, it's like a whole different person. It's just that much higher.
You need some water,
I'll convince anybody to give me ice. I can sell ice to an Eskimo possibly.
Sell it right now. I want to see how good you are.
Oh, do you want to go?
Let's go.
Do you want? Well, which one do you want? Do you want the serene tour? Do you want the like exciting
danger?
The danger.
Yeah, give it to.
So Okay, so we're gonna go and we're gonna find ourselves like a nice little class 2 river, and I'm gonna hook you up to your board, and you're gonna have a great little time. The safe thing about it is you basically have a massive floaty with you. So your paddle board is actually a floaty that you can get back on, and that's kind of the drawing factor to it. So as you like bob up and down kind of through the little like wave trains, if you do get knocked off, you can crawl back on, unlike a raft or a kayak. So if you want to go paddleboarding on a river, there's a little bit more of a self-rescue aspect, which can empower people, which is a lot, I think, better of an experience at times.
Oh, wow. So this is safer, right?
The thing is, the same hazards exist in a river. Is the big thing. So if you're on a river and you can't read the water and you don't understand what you're looking at, that can create hazards all of itself. And I think that's the big misunderstanding right now when people's like, especially here in the north, like we've become so detached from our waters. And I think our waters are like our historical piece for us. Like when you think about the voyagers, when you think about the explorers around, when you think about the people like who've lived here for thousands of years as well, everybody used the waterways, whether it be by canoe, whether it be by raft. It was all an access. Like that was our way of transport, and that was our way around. If we like getting across land too as well, but we utilized our waterways. And I think over the years we've gotten so used to having cars and highways that we've lost touch with what our waterways mean and like what the rivers can do for us and the transport that we can get from them and the enjoyment that we can get from them. And I think that's something that's been like, honestly, it's missing. And I think a lot of people look at rivers now, and I literally have friends that say, well, rivers kill people. And I'm like, yes, they do when you approach it without knowledge. If you didn't know anything about a vehicle and you got in a vehicle, potentially you'd end up in the same situation. So I think it's a knowledge thing. And obviously by your experience, you know now that if someone says, trust me, I'm a raft guide, it might not be the best idea to get in the boat.
The story continues.
Yeah.
So what happened? He left. And he sold his raft.
And never went again.
Never we heard about him again. I don't know.
How big was this raft?
It was
it maybe about,
no.
I want to say like arm's length wide maybe?
It was maybe this wide, and it was a tube.
Yeah, it had been tubed around the edge.
So from here maybe to there. And he had like 10 people on it. It's like 10 people? Yeah, it was 10 people on it. I don't think you're supposed to have
Was it
10.
a blue raft?
It was those black ones.
Black, okay. I was going to say, because I know a kid that was...
No, it was like a racing raft. You had like a pointy thingy, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was so proud of it.
We did have about 7 years ago have a youngster, maybe not youngster, but mid-20s who came through Prince George, who got really excited and bought a raft and was trying to get people to go with him. Yeah. So I don't know if it was the same individual or not.
This guy was old.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay. That's good.
Wait a minute. He didn't even give us goggles, now that I'm thinking.
I don't know if you need goggles.
Because of our contacts, right? So,
okay, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so everything was like, he was the only one who had a helmet on his own head.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was interesting. I think about it a lot. We still make fun of it, right? So.
Yeah, the inexperience of water sometimes can be dangerous.
I love water. It's
yeah.
one of my favorite things, right? But so how did you get into it? Like, how did the whole thing started? When you were a kid, did it started? Like, take me back to.
Okay, so historically, so I'm from Prince George.
Yeah.
So I grew up here, and it all kind of led. Like, I find my life kind of it's typical but interesting at the same time.
Yeah. Talk about it.
So I grew up here, and then I ended up becoming a university student.
Yeah.
A broke university student goes tree
broke
planting.
Broke university students.
Yeah, starving students. It's a real thing.
That's what school does to you, right? It's like a black hole of money. Books, tuition fees.
Yeah, it's pretty steep at times.
What do you study?
I was doing a chemistry English double major, and so I was just an undergraduate. I only did 3 years though.
3 years.
So.
It was too much, eh?
I just didn't know where I was going. I was looking at med school, and it just things weren't coming together for me, and I just decided I would work rather than be there not knowing what was my driving factor.
It's so expensive to go to med school, right?
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work. You have to see a lot of things that I don't know, some people they don't like, right? So what happened? You wanted to go to take this class? Like,
so I wanted to go to med school, but then I got involved with tree planting, and of course that some people immediately are like, oh, tree planter hippie, and it's like, well. I don't know if it's like tree planters. I'd say are more authentic people, but tree planting, what it did was it expanded my capability of myself.
Yeah, talk about that.
So when I was younger, I had a paper route, and I'd always think like it'd be hard work, but you carry the papers, you deliver them. And so I just related that to planting. Was like, I have the trees, I have to plant them, I have to carry them. And so that's what I kind of going through my head. It was, if I can do my paper route when it's -20 out and deliver my papers, which are heavy, I can put these trees on and I can plant these trees. And the mental head game, like the expansion of the push factor and what you're actually capable of doing, really helped me to grow. And through tree planting, I became more of an athlete. And became more of an athlete. I got exposed more to like hiking. I got exposed more to other sports. And one sport that came up was surfing, as I ended up in Tofino learning how to surf at one point in time. And I took that and I continued to surf, and then I chased waves a little bit around the world. I ended up in Vietnam at some point. Vietnam, yeah, surfing. And then I did spend a lot of time on the West Coast of Vancouver Island, and I worked in Mexico as a surf instructor.
Oh wow!
So then all this kind of came piling down, and then I ended up back in Prince George without a job, just kind of like sitting, waiting for the season to start again. And along came a relationship, and I have to give full credit to my ex, is because he taught me how to paddle. And if it wasn't for his patience, because I can be pretty stubborn and hard-headed, it's great, be a beautiful human. He taught me how to paddle. So, and then I just got involved with the community, and that came about because I wanted to surf. He surfed, but he also paddled, and he was also stand-up paddleboarding. So this was about 12 years ago when the sport really didn't exist on the rivers. It was just starting to surface a little bit. Surface, that's terrible joke to happen.
Oh, you matches. You're rhyming today.
So he brought me out on the river, and he kind of taught me how to paddle. And because I already had interactions with surfing and like large waves in the ocean, it kind of fit together, and I just slowly learned the sport and learned it without anything formal. It was like with the kayakers that kayak here in Prince George, and involved with him. He was also stand-up paddleboarding, and because all I wanted to do was surf, and along those lines came river running, came the exposure to the rapids, to all kinds of different rivers and situations, and it just grew from there. So that's kind of how I felt. I was kind of feeling like a landlocked surfer in Prince George, and I wanted to be on the water, and I found this sport that I could do from April all the way through till like the end of September. And now I actually paddle all year round, because I paddle up on the Crooked, because the Crooked River stays open all year round too as well. So I can go paddling any month of the year that I want.
Oh, you're like crazy about this. Even in the snow, like in the cold, like how cold is it?
I'll go the coldest I want to go is like -8. Then your feet, you can't keep warm enough because the water is really cold, and then the board's on the water, and then the transfer of heat doesn't really happen. The transfer of cold happens into you. So
-8. I thought you were gonna tell me -40.
No, gosh, no.
Maybe like an icicle on a.
No, the risk just gets like so much higher if you do end up in the water. And then
I mean, you could. How long do you have when you fall into that?
So I wear a dry suit. Like I'll wear a dry suit all the way up until spring runoff starts to kind of slow down. So I'll be wearing a dry suit right up until June when I'm paddling on the rivers.
Until June.
Yeah, I'll wear a dry suit as late that in the season, and then I'll probably start wearing a dry suit again come into like September, depending on the river. Some rivers are like glacier runoff, so you want to be in a dry suit no matter what time of the year on them. But like the exposure, the exposure to the cold, if you don't like the cold and you're like really against it, might not be the best idea for you. But I was gonna wear my dry suit today, but just to be like, you guys are like be a little more neutral. So I'm neutral, just so everybody knows. We're not going bright and tight today.
if you wore your dry suit today, the amount of noise that would come out of it.
It's crazy because it's Gore-Tex.
Right? Yeah,
every time I move,
we'd be miserable here. You know, once we go to the editing room, we'd be like tears coming down on our eyes. Right? There's nobody can pick that up.
They do make noise.
Good thing you didn't wear that. Eh?
No, I know. There's things I don't think about. I think about like, hey, it'd be fun to wear something that so I can show people. But there's other ends to making professional videos than I don't do, obviously.
If your voice fighting with my voice, and then we just go like every time. What kind of sound does it make?
It's like Gore-Tex. It's like wearing like a snowsuit. So it's like noise.
Because of the fire.
Yeah. But the cold exposure is a big thing, and I think especially being in the north, like Prince George and our surrounding areas, we don't get the warm water like maybe people do a little more down south, or we don't get the extreme heat, which we have a little bit more over the last few years. But people find, like, I think with paddling, being in the water can be uncomfortable because of the temperature.
Yeah.
So, and that's people's biggest fears, because I also instruct. So when I take people out paddling, their biggest fear is actually falling off the board, which I find really interesting, because for the amount of times that I've fallen off the fallen off a board, it's like, that's just kind of part of it. But
Okay, so you keep falling, right? It's like skateboard, skating. Is it skating? Was it?
Yeah, if you fall, it shouldn't be too much of an issue.
Because it's water, right? It's soft.
Yeah.
But you fall on ice, your butt can would bite you for a while. Right? So.
Yes, that's why I don't mountain bike. Trees don't move. Water moves.
Right. I've seen people hitting the trees, right? Have you seen, like, there was a guy I knew in Kelowna. He went mountain biking, right? And he was going so fast, he somehow he hit a tree and he hugged the tree. And then his ribs were broken. There was all this crazy stuff that he had to go through.
I've had some impacts from some of the boulders in the river, but I've never, like.
Oh, you forgot about that. Those are like.
Yeah.
They don't movies also.
Yeah.
And they're sharper than a
shallow
tree.
water, not friendly.
Listen, so when you were tree planting, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Like, what happened that, like, how did you push yourself? Because people think tree planting is something you go in there, you're done, right? But it's not like that, right? Talk about it. Like, what did it do to you for you to push yourself?
To realize that anything's possible?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
This is a really, I actually don't usually get questioned this. Yeah. This is a really interesting one.
No, I'm very interested in this because you see, in our life, there's always a point. There's a point that you have option, right? Either you go back and you be normal.
I couldn't go back.
And then, or you push forward and you become a total new person. So this is so what happened? Tell me about that part. Go in details.
I think for a long time, growing up, I was bullied a lot.
You were bullied when you were a kid?
Yeah, so I really didn't feel like I had...
By the girls or by the boys?
Both, girls, boys.
Boys were bullying you?
Grade 12, getting pushed into the lockers by grade 10s.
By the guys?
Guys.
If you beat the guys, it's okay, right?
So it's like, so I think maybe a piece of that was...
Why were you getting bullied? Why?
Why, sorry?
What was the reason they were bullying you?
I actually don't know.
For no reason?
I could never really piece together why I was picked on. Yeah. So, and that's just something that I don't really like. No. I don't like. I think high school and elementary school.
High school is horrible.
It's just it's hostile and it's not a very good environment. And I don't think that any of us are acting like adults, and we're acting all on hormones and emotional impulses. So I hope people just get through high school and realize that there's a bigger, brighter world out there.
Do you have a list of those people? Because on the side, Jeff and I, we hit people with our tripods.
It's fine. I truly
we
believe
we use tripod. Because we could write it off.
There's some certain things that come around that, like, there's got to be karma. There's got to be karma in today's world.
All you got to go, huh? And we just run with our tripod.
No.
We won't use our lights, they're expensive, but the tripod, no problem.
The interesting thing is, though, I would never wish anything like that upon someone. Like, I don't ever think that, like, just because someone's treating me wrongly, now, like, I have a really deep belief, just if someone's being negative to me or being hurtful towards me,
somebody hurt them probably, right?
They're probably hurting.
Well, you don't have to watch anything. You just point, you turn your head. You won't know what happened.
I wouldn't even give names because I wouldn't want to see anything like that happen. So if you guys want to do your own research. So, yeah, but I think that all, like, kind of led to tree planting. I found, like, a community feel. Okay. And I think that was, like, a really big thing was I came into a workplace, into like a small community, working in camps of 50 to 70 people. And you're accepted for who you are. You're accepted for how you come. They push you a little bit to try and plant better or plant faster.
Talk about that a little bit to acceptance. I cannot even pronounce it anymore.
I think it's like you have people from all different walks of life. You have people coming from, like, whether they're in school, whether they're just like this is their summer job, whether that's I just feel like you have such a vast variety of personalities. You have it's hard to really put in perspective. Like, you have people who come together from different cities, different towns. Like, everyone's got a different story, and you come together in, like, you have kind of like one uniform mission. You're all there to, like, plant trees, and you're all there to make money, and you're all there to do good, honest, hard work. And if you don't do good, honest, hard work, you usually get found out, and you usually don't have a job.
Or they get rid of you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. They give you a heads up, And if you don't change your ways and you continue to lie about how many you've planted, or you continue to plant bad trees, you won't have a job. And I think that's a good harsh reality, is you do your work, you do good work, and you be productive, and you get along with, otherwise you don't come back, or you don't get invited back the next year.
Oh, wow.
So, and I think that's something that some workplaces nowadays, we don't see as much of that kind of like cut edge line, I think. And I think that's something that really shaped more my character, was like, not to conform. Like, I don't think that's what it's after, because you could still be whoever you wanted. You could wear whatever you wanted. It didn't matter.
Just
like
trees, like, they don't have emotions.
It didn't matter if you washed your hair during the shift. Like, no one really cared. No one really cared what you wore. Nobody really, like, as long as you were nice to someone, that's what mattered. No one asked you what your status was, what vehicle you drove. No one cared what cell phone you had. Nobody cared about any of that stuff.
Do they care about stuff like that?
But there's people out there that judge on that. There's people that like look at some things that you might have and might think that, oh, well, that person's look like, no, it's just,
he's driving a crappy car and you're gonna be his friends and things like that.
Yeah, like I just think that there's different tiers in our society, and people relate to one another sometimes by, whether it be sports that they do, who's got the nicest mountain bike, or maybe I should, people start to feel insecure about things. And out there, it didn't really matter. As long as you had bags, you had a shovel to plant your trees, and you showed up, it just, you could be whoever. And I think that really helped me root myself again. And in that, you get exposed to adversity. So adversity, it's not just you that's out there that day on the cut block that's by yourself. Yes, you're by yourself, but if it's pouring rain, everyone else is in the pouring rain. If it's buggy, everybody else is in the bugs. If it's snowing because it's really early spring, everybody else is in the snow. There is no escape from the adversity, and I think that's something that really helps like create that camaraderie. And so that's what drew me back to it. Like, I wasn't a very good tree planter my first year. I probably never should have gone back, but I went back because I enjoyed the experience of it. I don't know why exactly, but and I just kept going back, and I planted for 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah, and I've planted everywhere from BC coast and remote islands up in like, where all they do is they heli log off the coast, and I've planted in those areas, to flat plains up around like by Fort St. John. Into the central interior here. So I've planted like everywhere around Vanderhoof, Prince George, out towards Smithers. I've planted down towards the Kootenays. I've been in Cranbrook before. Like, so I've kind of been all over the place. And I think another kind of draw to it was that work just took you around, and you got to see different places, and you got to be outside all the time. But like, you did hard things every day. If you didn't plant trees, you didn't make money. If you sat and talked to your buddy for half the day, you didn't make money. So you had to work. And I think that kind of like made me realize that with hard work can come, like, perseverance basically takes over, and you excel. So
was that so you started to do it yourself, right?
Yeah.
But that's what's the first thing that is stolen from us, right? We don't know who we are, we fall into all this, I guess, sheep mentality stuff, and then right before you die, then everything comes together. It's too late, right? But I guess you, at that moment, right, doing these things, you started finding more and more about yourself, right? So talk about that a little bit. Like, how did that happen? Did it come in like small pieces, or all of it come at the same time?
I think it's like, I should keep going back to the word rooted. Like, I think I just felt like the things that made, and so like out there, when I left tree planting after being there for so long, I felt really like rooted. I felt really secure in who I was. And then I came back, what did I say, came back to society. There's a lot of confusing things in society, and I think that's why I've been drawn to paddling.
The whole thing is confusing, right?
But like, paddling has that representation of tree planting, because paddling, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're a complete dick, people aren't going to paddle with you. If you're ignorant, you don't listen, people probably aren't going to paddle with you. But if you show up with your gear and with a good mentality to learn and to work together, like probably going to be supported by the community in order to learn more about paddling and in order to be able to get out on the water. And that was a similar feel to tree planting. And I think the crossover was, I came back from tree planting and ended up, I worked at just a restaurant as a server for a while, and then I got a job at the mill and realized
you got a job at the mill?
The mill culture is very entertaining. So I'm gonna say right now, if I swear, I'm just saying I apologize ahead of time. Okay.
Just change the words,
I'll try to.
Wait, what do you mean mill? You work at, what do you do?
I work at pulp mill.
What do you do?
I'm an industrial instrument mechanic, Red Seal ticketed.
You are? It's crazy. You see all these things that are coming out. You have to
Yeah.
talk about this stuff to anybody else. Does it come out when you talk to people?
People eventually get around. What they realize is, well, it's basically, if you want to kind of sum it up, I go against the grain.
Or everybody.
If people say,
everybody who's here,
if someone's like you can't, I'll literally be like, watch me.
Good. Okay.
And I think that came from that I think that came from that kind of that internal determination.
Yeah.
To like do hard things, and to be able to do hard things, you have to be able to, when someone says no, you have to be able to take a different pathway. And I think that's like absolutely vital. If someone says no, there's another way around, or regroup and come back at it. Just like, and that's, I'm pretty sure that came from tree planting, because just because it was hard didn't mean I couldn't do it. I could do it, and I got better at it. It just took a little longer. It took me a couple years to get really good at it. And then I foremaned as well and ran crews, and I found all these different capabilities that I didn't have. And then I ended up in a pulp mill, coming back to society. Pulp mill culture is, you don't find anything like it. I can't.
Just a little bit. Be PG, you're PG, right?
It's
You're PG right now.
It's like a whole different world, which I guess I appreciate, because tree planting's a whole different world, and like there's different things that are acceptable.
Come on, talk about it.
It's there's different things that are humor that's acceptable sometimes in a mill that wouldn't be acceptable elsewhere.
Say it. Without shutting us down.
It's just like, well, I don't want to shun the people that I work with, and I don't want to have a bad presentation of my employer either. Like, so, because I appreciate where I work. Like, I got but I got horseshoes up my ass. I ended up in the mill. Yeah. I swear, you could have walked me around the digester, and that's the big pressure cooker where they put the chips in and put the chemicals in, and they make the pulp, they cook it and that. So this is like, digesters, decent sized, tall, like multi-story canister. You could have walked me around the bottom of that thing, and I would have thought I was somewhere else. And you could have walked me in circles, and I probably wouldn't have known that I was walking around the same thing. That's how green I was. When I started my trade, I didn't know what a crescent wrench was.
What is a crescent wrench?
A crescent wrench is an adjustable wrench.
Okay.
So, those ones that have the little like wheel on them?
Oh, I know.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like, I didn't know what a crescent wrench was.
So you have to learn everything from the basic.
Yeah. And that's where like the impossible becomes the possible. And
why did you choose that though? Like, why did you choose that field?
Well, the weird thing was I thought like this is, so I didn't, when I started in the mill, when I was in my interview process, I didn't know what an apprenticeship was. Like when I was going through the interview process and going through the tests, and there was people are asking like, why are you applying at the mill and stuff, and there's amongst the people in the like testing room, and some of the people are like, oh, they do apprenticeships here, I want to get an apprenticeship, so I want to get on at the mill. I didn't know what an apprenticeship was. And I got a job at the mill, and then I kind of learned what an apprenticeship was. And then that was within 2 months. I was still in my probationary period when I was applying for my apprenticeship in the mill. And I got my trade because no one else applied. I actually beat out 2 guys. One guy was in a different union, and the other guy failed the math test.
You failed the math test?
Yeah.
That would be me.
I'm sure you can figure out fractions. If you just got a few years in there, you'd be fine. So. Okay,
and then what happened to the other guy couldn't do it, or?
One guy was a different union, so if I failed, then he would have got it. So, but now he actually he's 2 or 3 years behind me right now. So he switched.
You're still working there?
Yep, I still work at the mill.
Oh, that's why you couldn't say anything. I couldn't say the culture.
But it's just a different culture. I enjoy it. Like, don't get me wrong. I do enjoy like how rough it can be, because some people do say the trades and construction and industry is a little bit rougher, and I think I just enjoy the entertainment that comes with it. So.
When guys are together, we have a totally different jokes amongst each other. That woman, they never see that part of us.
Oh no, we sometimes see it.
You see it there.
There's guys that don't have filters around me now, thankfully, and I appreciate it 100%. I would rather see a male guy I'd rather guys be guys than hold back when I'm around. That's for sure.
No, but you know what I'm talking about. Most women, they have no idea what the reality.
No.
Right? That thing, everything is buttery as soon as. That's why there's something called guys' nights out. Like we do all this crazy stuff. We need it.
Oh yeah.
100%. We need the brotherhood. Right?
No, you guys do. Like, and that's something I would never want to take away from any male.
Anyway, it's important. It's important for guys to go through to do those stuff.
You guys are different than us.
Yeah.
110%.
Do a lot of crazy things to each other.
Oh yeah, trust me. There's been some main events that have come through the shop. So
we can talk about it if you want. It's okay.
It's work, and work is work, and I'm just happy to have the employment that I do, and honestly, I hope that people realize how important our forestry industry is, and that we're trying to work towards being innovative now. I don't know, some people still envision the fact that, you know, like I've done it. I've tree planted.
Yep.
I've actually run chainsaw. I was become a faller. I was 100 hours out from being a ticketed faller.
Yep.
And now I'm working in a pulp mill. So now I'm working in the production part of the forestry where we bring the chips in. And so I've seen, the only thing I haven't done is mechanical logging. Like I haven't driven the trucks and I haven't been out there on the cut blocks with the big machines.
Yep.
But I've also laid out the cut blocks where the machines go. I've also put in the areas, like the safe areas around the creeks,
Yeah.
so that the machines don't get too close. So I've seen what the forestry industry is.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's actually really important, is to realize that, you know, we are going to be getting innovative and we do have to like move ahead. And hopefully we don't just shut down the north by shutting down the forestry industry, because yeah, it's a reality. And, you know, there are things happening right now that are moving forward, not backwards. And I hope that we can show that too from my side of industry. So.
Oh, you know, once the mills shut down, like, it's gonna be so hard to make money here, right? Then usually that's how the towns start like going down.
We need industry,
right?
and I think we need to be open to new industry too, because with new industry, we still meet the standards and we meet the the environmental standards more easily. The mills are old, like these mills are old, and that's a reality fact of the north. Is these mills are old. We need to build new ones. We need to get innovative, and you know we need to honestly get eyes on the ground to manage our resource a little bit better. Like it's hard when people down south are basically blanketing our forests with polygons, and they're not even out there with people on the ground actually what's happening in that forest. So it's really, it's a hard part, and like I don't want to see the north suffer because of decisions that aren't actively involved with what's actually happening here in the communities. So, and hopefully that message gets out, because there's a lot of people, and it's, you know, I say there's a lot of people, what I really want to say is there's a lot of people's livelihoods, you know, like we want to talk about like less suffering, we talk about like having economic impacts, we want to talk about doing things that are positive for one another, and one thing that we can do is we can figure out, we can get our poop in a group, so I don't swear.
Welcome to our PG.
Well, PG rated.
PG rated, coming towards you. There might be another version of it, but I doubt it.
Well, if you get your shit together, what would happen? Because you know what, like, but we can do this. Like, if the Scandinavian countries can
honey
do it,
together.
yeah, like we can do this too. So, and I think people really need to get that message out too as well. And I think like all of this revolves around too, like paddling wise, is when it comes to community and it comes to doing things that are positive. I've only ever seen positive things from paddling and from the community, and it's such an inclusive environment that people encourage one another, and they encourage one another in a safe manner too as well. And I hope that those type of things transfer over to, like, for a workplace. Like I've now they're letting me train apprentices.
Or so, why not?
It just seems I didn't know what a crescent wrench was like, and it's interesting to see the development growth. I don't know. It's always funny.
There's because you went, right? You learned, right? So you know your experience. There's nothing wrong with that. It's totally fine, right? Like, because if you have the knowledge, it's not about who you are or what you are or where you're from or anything like that. As long as you have the knowledge, you're qualified for the job, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't have the knowledge and you want to teach, then that doesn't make any sense, right?
No.
So it's not about what gender you are or what color you are or whatever. It's how much knowledge you have, right? And then you can pass that down, right? Sometimes in some companies they don't do that, right? They're like, oh, you know.
Well, it's about you being innovative with yourself too as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's like like a lot of people are like, oh well, what's one of your, like, people ask me in an interview, what's one of your strongest traits, or what do you think something that like is like powerful or something about you? And I think me being adaptable is probably one of the biggest things, because in any given situation, I'm open to learn. And I think that came from tree planting, is you get stuck in these situations where it's like, okay, well, either sink or I float here. And the same thing goes with paddling. It's like, I'm either going to like learn what I need to do to paddle this or to paddle at this level, or I'm not going to. And it's a mental game. It's interesting. I find it really interesting that you asked more about my growth and more about these situations than you have asked, because it seems to be something that's reoccurring around me this year. So I'm thinking that this year's a lot more about me looking at myself internally a little bit more, and about what has rooted me and what has made me, because coming from tree planting and feeling really rooted and then hitting society.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of confusing things for a little while.
No,
There's people out that, like, it blows my mind. So I've worked with men since I was 17.
Okay.
I'll tell you how old I am, even though
No.
it's not you asking. So you don't have to take the blame. So I've worked with men.
No, I tell you,
Okay, how about
I'm very connected. I have no care at all. Like,
Oh, that's good.
no shame, nothing.
No shame. Perfect.
Go on.
I think that's a good quality.
Yeah. No, if you let things bother you or anything
Yeah.
like that, then it takes away from who you are.
Yeah.
Right? And once you let things from external, anything from external, bother you, as long as you didn't cause a problem, then that reflects on yourself. Then you start, I guess, eating up yourself, and then you shrink
Yeah.
who you are.
You don't want to belittle yourself.
You always want to be expanding, right?
Yeah.
Like you want to be like today, we sit in here, we learned about something, right? Tomorrow, you want to be a totally different person because you grow again, right? So I can
Yeah.
talk over here. So I just meant.
No, that's fine. That's fine. It's so like being rooted and coming back to society was confusing, but now I'm finding that like there's growth and it's this all started.
Don't swear.
No. This all started. So you know the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
I paddled the Grand Canyon last spring.
You paddled the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
Colorado River.
Oh wow.
So
You film it hopefully, right?
I have some GoPro footage.
Okay, good.
There wasn't like a professional team with me.
GoPro does everything, right?
Yeah, it doesn't do everything. I wish it did. It doesn't. But so I paddled Grand Canyon, and getting invited on that Grand Canyon trip came from my interactions with now someone who's a really good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And I went on this trip as it kind of. This is interesting how it's all connecting. So I went on this trip. I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
I went with 16 people. I'd met a couple of them, paddled with them a couple times, and that's about it. None of them were really my friends.
Yeah.
There was all part of just being part of the community. And so I did this for 21 days.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing that I found with tree planting. Tree planting, you end up getting a job.
Yeah.
You end up going there. You don't know anybody. And you end up making friends and getting to know people as a community. And I think that the crossover kind of crosses over all throughout. So I think when that reflects on like where I am now, I'm feeling like there's a piece in my life that I'm supposed to be in my roots. Like I'm 38 now. I've worked with men since I was 17. So I've worked with men for 20 years. And coming back to society, this is something that blows. Some people aren't going to agree with me on this one, and I know this.
Who cares?
It's
your reality.
it confused me
Yeah.
that I couldn't be friends with guys.
Yeah.
So I came back to society, ended up in a couple different relationships, and it bothered my partner that I couldn't be friends with guys, and it really confused me because I just spent the last however many years working I've always worked in male-dominated industries. Working at the mill, if I see a woman, during a work day, it's strange. So I've worked with men for many, many years, and so I find coming back to I don't want to say coming back to society, but getting back away from doing something different. I found just trying to find acceptance was like weird coming back, and I found through paddling, I found acceptance, and that's where I just picked up and excelled again. Yeah. You got a running faucet, just so you know.
It's a good thing you know. Here we go. I have a backup. I always have a backup. I don't know why this is happening. So the lights, it's so hot. Is the faucet gone?
Yeah, I think so. Buzz is gone.
Let me know if he comes back. You don't want any leaky faucets in here. He might drown. He might paddle.
Well, we could use the moisture in the north, though. Honestly, right now, we've been in a bit of drought for a little while.
Oh my God, that was good. Thanks for telling me that.
Yeah.
We would have looked bad. And then I don't think he's gonna touch up on that, right? He's gonna grab the nose, put some masks on it, pull it back, grab it from this side, bring it over here, put a tracking on it. So when I move,
just like this little blur spot follows you around.
Yeah.
Video editing is very interesting what they can do nowadays.
Sometimes you have to do that with logo. It's horrible.
Yeah.
We did a documentary with somebody. I specifically told them, don't wear anything with logos. And they come in there, I was like, oh my God, what do I do, right? So you know what? I probably hired somebody to do that in the post, right? I ended up doing the post, the editing. It was horrible. It was so difficult to track the logos and things like that. And I'm just angry.
Yeah.
It's like all to do. You know, not to bring that stuff, right? And they were moving. Forget about it. Okay, so talk about acceptance, right? So when you say acceptance, Acceptance. What do you mean? What-
So acceptance
Yeah.
is being able to fully show up with your own truth
Yeah.
and be able to be allowed to have
Yeah.
the space to be within your own truth as to who you are.
So you find that through paddling, right?
I think that's a huge driving,
Yeah.
because like I paddle with a sports coach.
Yeah.
I paddle with a radiologist.
Yeah.
I paddle with there was a lawyer I was paddling with.
Yeah.
I paddled with I want to say he was a bank, but I'm forgetting exactly what his title was.
Yeah.
I've paddled with like engineers. I've paddled with like HR, people who work for HR. Like
Yeah.
I'm a trade, so I'm like a Red Seal trade.
Yeah.
Like there's just people from different backgrounds, and our ages are anywhere right now from 26 to
70.
No, they're not that
They
old.
come with the gravestone.
They're
They
gonna
come
beat
with
me.
the gravestone.
They're not
They paddle
78.
on the gravestone.
They're 68. They're 67 and 68.
Like, okay, you know.
So like our age group of like people who paddle, like you come from all ages and you just need all backgrounds,
Yeah.
and basically if you show up
Yeah.
and you have like you want to learn,
Yeah.
and you have respect,
Yeah.
like you can learn how to paddle,
Yeah.
but you have to put the time in too. This isn't a easy ride.
It's
for
not
sure.
free. It's not a free ride.
No,
right?
the river will humble you. Just saying. I've been humbled. Trust me, I've been humbled.
Talk about your humbling experience here.
Man. So, I've had a few good swims.
Yeah.
Like, I've had it where, because the way with the water comes in, the water can sometimes push up against like a rock wall. And so I've had it where I've come in and I've ended up getting knocked off my board and having my board stuck against the wall. And then I'm tethered to my board,
Yeah.
but I'm tethered to my board that I can release from it.
Yeah.
So that's on my vest.
Yeah.
So when my board got stuck against the wall, I actually had to pull like my emergency to basically release me from my board, and I ended up swimming downstream. My board stayed there for 2 minutes
Oh,
and just hung out on the rock wall until eventually it came off.
it was hanging
Yeah.
out.
So
having a
well, it wasn't having a good time, of course, but then you got to check for damage and just see where everything's at afterwards and kind of regroup. That was a few years ago, that one. But like being humble, realizing that if you don't work with the river, you're at the mercy of it. And if you aren't paying, if you let your ego get away and you think like you just get if you get too cocky, like you're probably gonna get your ass handed to you.
It's like, I'm Superman. Then you're in the hospital with neck braces and like this,
Yeah.
the stick on the arm.
Well, the interesting thing is that's the image that comes from people who I think mountain bike. Impacts.
Yeah.
When it comes to the river, you have near drowning experiences.
I think the term tree hugger came from that. On a mountain
Yeah.
bike, right? Where else come from, right? You're biking and next thing you know you're hugging a tree. Oh, your bones are broken.
Oh man, it's just that. But it's just
Honey, I'm home. Boom.
yeah. Well, those are the days that you're not supposed to call your wife because you just know that you're out biking, and then you end up in the hospital, and then you end up having to call your wife, and then things just compound even worse.
Oh man, that would be interesting.
Yeah. So definitely.
Unless
But-
she comes with you and you both go home broken.
No, then she's just nice enough maybe to like. Well, she'll push you out in the wheelchair. Just got the arms straight out.
Let's get the insurance. Let's get the insurance. I'm just gonna push.
Yeah.
We're not giving any ideas to anybody here, okay?
No.
This is just a joke. We're not responsible for any things that happen from this,
Yeah.
okay? So talking to me about more humbling experiences on the river.
My most humbling was on the Grand Canyon.
Okay, talk about that. It sounds like almost like a life and death experience.
I've never hyperventilated like that before in my life.
What was it? Tell me.
So
No. Give the thoughts in your head like, oh, I'm gonna be so great. I'm gonna glide down like angel.
it was more. I'm gonna get this. I got this. It was ego driven.
So you know
It
like,
was this determination, and it was digging from the fact that I wasn't taking a moment to pause, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, what does that mean? What is moment to pause?
When the big issue that I had with that one was it was a short rapid, so it wasn't super long. So when I came into it, I got knocked off at the end of it, but it had a lot of power to it.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of force on the eddy line. So an eddy line is where your current of your river is flowing down, and then there's an obstacle here, so it's like backfilling in behind this obstacle. And so you get this water that's coming back up against the river that's flowing down this way. So like if there's a rock or if the river bends or there's like a point in the land or something, on this side, the water's going to flow down and then fill into this. And so there was so much water force flowing down, and there was so much water. There was a huge eddy coming back up and forcing itself back into the current here, that along this edge, there was massive whirlpools happening and boils.
Oh my God.
So when I came down, I thought I'd just skirt the edge of it, and I got a fair ways down the eddy line, and then I got knocked off my board. And then I was just like, I want this. I was like, I want this rapid. Like, I can do this. This is like why, like I just about had it. So I became this like, it was almost like I was a little bit insecure, and then my ego took over. Oh. And so I got back on my board, paddled into the eddy, caught the current, paddled all the way back up, and I didn't actually stop because I had already been paddled hard, swam, was partway out of breath, started paddling back up, was just about out of breath, hit the edge of the eddy line, got out into the main current. As I got out of the main current, I got kicked, and I got kicked onto the eddy line again and got kicked into a whirlpool. And the last thing I remember, like if I remember the whole thing, I was conscious, but the last thing I remember on the surface of the water was reaching for my board and realizing that it was above me and I was going down. So I wasn't reaching across the water towards it, I was reaching up. And when I realized I was reaching up, that's when I was like, oh, I know what this is. And then I got pulled under, and so I've been pulled under in whirlpools before. Yeah. Like I've been in a few of them where I can feel myself spinning under the water, but I'm tethered to my board, so I've got my leash to my board. Oh. So usually I can reach up and I can grab my leash. I've got my paddle in one hand, I got my leash in the other, and usually I can pull myself to the surface by my leash. I couldn't actually pull myself to the surface at all. I grabbed the hold of my leash and went to pull, and I felt like I was going to tear my whole shoulder out. So that at that point I knew I had to wait. But the issue was when I came out into that main current, again, when I paddled back up and came out into the current, when I hit that main current, I was already out of breath. So when I got pulled under, I was already out of breath. And I realized when I was under that I didn't have any breath. And so I was down there hanging onto my leash, hanging onto my paddle, and I was basically coaching myself, telling myself, I was like, hey, it's going to let you go. It'll let you go eventually.
How long did it take?
Just stay calm. It's probably about 12 seconds, maybe 15. Yeah. And I just kept talking to myself. It'll let you go eventually. And because I went with no air already as it was, I could feel my diaphragm starting to contract.
What is that? Talk about that.
So when your body wants air, it's going to try and get air. When you are out of breath and your oxygen levels are getting too low in your blood, your body is going to start to fight for air. You will eventually try and breathe, and people will end up breathing water in. So I was fighting my body because it was trying to breathe, and I was just basically under the water, hanging onto my leash, hanging onto my paddle, and then just saying, like, it'll let you go. It'll eventually let you go. Don't breathe. It'll let you go. And then I felt this like cold kind of like push of water a bit from below me, like it felt like something changed. And I was like, it'll let you go. And then I felt it again. And then that's when I started to pull on my leash, and I realized that I could get to the surface. And then I got to the surface. And yeah, I've never hyperventilated like that before that in my life. And like it took me a while for me to get my breath, but I felt my diaphragm contract times, trying to convince me to get air. But I was still under the water. And I mean, like that's the reality of it. And some people are like, oh my gosh, like that would be so scary. And it's like, but if I got scared, I would have breathed.
Time stops, no?
Yeah, and
everything stops.
Yeah, it's like if I would have got scared, I would have breathed. I had to accept. Yeah. And I had to just accept and just keep my calm as long as I could in order to try and get out the other end. Because eventually, not all river features for sure, and I want to be very clear about that, there are river features that will never let you go. But given from what I understood, from what I know of where we were paddling on the Grand Canyon, at that point in time, everything would flush. Everything would eventually let you go. You just have to wait long enough.
You thought, when this happens, there's a silence, right? There's some kind of a quiet silence in the middle of the whole process.
Oh yeah, like
right? There's nothing.
it felt like all I could do with myself and focus on talking to myself, and that was it. Like I don't like there's no sounds. There was I like right now when I think about it, the only sensations that I have from that moment was my hand on my leash, the fact that I couldn't pull out to pull my shoulder out. I knew I had my paddle. I could feel my paddle in my hand, like I had the shaft of my paddle in my hand, and I knew I could feel my diaphragm, and I knew I could talk to myself.
You thought you were gonna die? You thought maybe 1%?
No,
Not at all.
no. I knew it was going to be really unpleasant, but I didn't think I was going to die. If I was a kayaker, I can't imagine how deep they would have gone. Because given the fact that I was tethered to my board, I knew my board was on the surface.
So the board basically saved you.
So I knew I was only 7 feet down.
Yeah.
But if the amount of force that was pulling on me, if I was a kayaker and was not tethered, I can't imagine how deep that person would have gone on that river at that
How
point.
deep do you think?
I don't know. No idea, because I don't kayak. There's reasons why I don't kayak.
Oh God.
No, I don't like. I'm like that. That actually went through my head. I was down there and I was like, oh my God. I was like,
Could have
how?
been so much force.
It could have been. Like it could have been way worse. I can't even imagine if a kayaker's like. But that exposure was like, it was really like it.
Yeah.
It gave me such insight and such respect for the kayakers too, because they don't have the same system that I have on a paddleboard. If they swim, they're really exposed.
Can they tie themselves to the?
You wouldn't want to.
Why not?
So
Because
no,
of the pull of the.
it's entanglement. So like even right now, me paddling with a leash, there's a risk of entanglement. There's a risk of my leash getting caught on something and me not being able to release from it. So we call it, like on the river, it's an entanglement issue. So even like a life vest that has straps on it, that can be an entanglement issue. So you can end up tangling part of your life vest on a stick or on something and get hooked on it, and that can cause you issues. That's why, you know, when people float the river, the Chaco out here in the summer, and they got all their tubes and stuff tied together by rope, that's entanglement hazard. So you can wind up in some sort of little bit of a rapid, like that rope can wrap around you. That rope can wrap around your wrist, that rope can wrap around your legs, that rope can wrap around your neck. So that's something it's a hazard, is having rope in the river. And I think people, like, it's just, but that's just through experience. And that's when it comes full circle back to the fact that, like, I believe that we've lost touch a little bit with our rivers and, like, with what it means to be safe around the water and understand. And I think with more knowledge and more understanding, and like you say, more knowledge, understanding, you're able to teach and you're able to hopefully inspire and lead and create something new too as well. So it's kind of all, it's like this huge melting pot that we're kind of mixing around in right now. I'm glad you got to go rafting. I'm sorry it was a terrible experience.
No, I've done a couple of, but nothing like that. He sold it so good. Oh my God, I'll never forget. Anyway, we find out, it's a long story. He found out he was scamming a lot of people. It was just, he had to run away. People were chasing him. It was crazy. So what happened to him? I hope he's doing good.
Not going to find him with a tribe at some point in time?
No, I tell you, I believe in karma.
Yeah.
Bad things happen to bad people. Eventually will catch up with you. So, I don't know, some things happen to him probably. I don't know. Maybe.
He's doing his own thing. If he's running, then he's right. They must be chasing him.
What kind of a life? What kind of a life is that?
You don't want to run.
Like over your shoulders. No, I think you have to have integrity, right?
Yes.
And then you live with purpose, right? And I think purpose is one thing that the society doesn't let you have, right? So what you're talking about, some of the things that you're trying to, I guess, acceptance, right? What if the most important acceptance is acceptance of yourself, right? Because when you accept yourself, you can go infinite, right?
Yeah.
But they make sure you don't accept yourself. So there's all this crazy stuff like bullying, for example, right? It degrades you to some degrees, right? And hurdle that you have to jump over. And then some of the crazy experiences in life, right? For you to accept yourself, you have to deal with those, right? And deal with them in a way that you can expand, right? Because if you don't, then you always will be like here, right?
Yeah.
But you want to go here. So that's where acceptance comes, right? And some of the things you say is very interesting. Like people, they have like they judge you for all these things, right? And the end of the day is like, is your journey. You're gonna die. We all gonna die. Really doesn't matter. Nothing really matters, right? So they judge you. Who cares? We don't want to be those people anyway, right? Because I call them the morons of our society.
Yeah.
Because they're only materialistic. They don't understand the other things that you're a person here on a journey to self-discovery to some degree, right? And then you're here to make a difference and make the world a better place, right? That's some people, they want to do it like that. All these other extra crap, people judge, who cares? And the funny thing is, people, they always like to hate on the sidelines. They never jump into things, right? And a lot of judgment, I feel, that comes from fear.
Yeah.
Because when you push through, right, and you shine and you're doing all these crazy things, people are look at you, they become envious. Because they cannot do it, they don't have the guts to do it themselves. What happens?
It's maybe not the guts.
They're afraid. They're afraid to take something new. Because
Yeah.
in order for you to take something new, you have to change yourself. You will change.
You gotta get uncomfortable.
You have to be extremely uncomfortable. No, you have to.
Yeah.
Right? That's when things happen. That's when you get a glimpse of yourself, like what you are, right? When you do all this crazy stuff, right? Well, just don't do anything insane, but you know what I mean, right? You take a challenge, right? You open, for example, your own business, right? You go for the sport you love, right? It's only when you do those things that things happen and success happens, right? And then that's when the people that they didn't want to do it, either they hate you, or they judge you, or they say, overnight success, right? Because it took you a long time to get here, right? With overnight success, you almost died.
I have spent, and that's some people, they're like, oh, well, the amount of time that I have spent on a paddleboard, people probably think I'm insane, think I'm crazy, for how many times I paddle and for how often I paddle. In the summertime, I'm paddling 5 days a week, 6 days a week.
5 to 6 days a week.
Yeah, and I'm paddling so I paddle as much as I possibly can. I've started paddling already for this year, but I was injured this winter, so I have to come.
What happened?
Interestingly enough, I have an issue with my left SI joint.
What is SI joint?
Sacroiliacus joint.
Okay.
So your tailbone comes down and your pelvis kind of sits into it.
Yeah.
And you have 2 joints on either side, and you have 1 down below on your tailbone. I can't remember the name of this one, but you have 2 of these big SI joints on either side. And they're supposed to move a little bit, they have a slight bit of flex. My left one moves more than it should. And what happens is you have all these ligaments, off the side, and my ligaments are stretched. And so I've been in a lot of pain, a lot more than I'd like to admit. But it's healing and it's getting better, and I'm starting to paddle and I'm starting to push again, and so but it's the second kind of real, I've had a few big injuries, and I just have to be really mindful as to how I handle myself and how I progress, and I don't, it's not about just stopping. I think that's another big message that I've kind of recently got through is, I think in life, a lot of people end up with a challenge or end up at a fork, and they end up just stopping at that fork.
Yeah.
Or, people say, oh, I can't do that. It's like, you stopped before you even got out the door.
Exactly.
You didn't even open the door.
They're defeated before the challenge.
Yeah, you didn't, and
we had a defeated guy. Jeff knows what I'm talking about. Remember, defeated? There were some people that they felt defeated.
Oh, yeah, no, it's mind-blowing how many people stop before they even, and I think that's something that's kind of why I love instructing when it comes to paddleboarding too, is you get people, a lot of people are freaked out to get on moving water when it comes to being on a paddleboard. It's the idea that I can stand on moving water on a paddleboard and play in the current, play with the flow a bit, kind of blows their mind. They don't think they can. And I always make sure I have, I have one lesson that I start, and I do, it's called a ferry. So I start in an eddy, and I ferry across the river behind one of the big bridge pillars. And I stop behind the bridge pillar, and then I come back into the eddy. And I do this move at the beginning of the class as people are warming up, being there on the river. They've worked on their flat water skills. I have to get that straight first. They've gone to the lake, and they've worked on their paddle stroke.
So when you say paddle stroke, are we talking about the body's motor, balancing
Yeah, it's
skills?
if you're doing a forward stroke, if you're going forward or if you're turning, they've worked on their strokes to make them good.
How long does it take to get there?
It really depends on the person. If you want hours, it depends on the dedication. It depends on the determination. It depends if you go get a lesson or if you don't. There's so many factors that play into it.
How many hours are we talking about?
If you want to get a good, strong forward stroke, and be be decent at it, it could be anywhere from 8 to 20 hours.
That's it. I thought you were gonna say like 100 hours, 200 hours, 300 hours.
Well, if you want to get your technique down, it's going to take a while, but it's going to take, you know, how many times do you go to the lake? How often are you forward paddling? How often are you actually working with a coach? You know, if you just do it by yourself, it's going to take you 40 to 100 hours to get it. If you hire someone to teach you how to do a good forward stroke, you'll probably get it in 8 to 20 hours.
8 to 20 hours.
I would think you'd have a very proficient forward stroke, and your body would have time in that time to actually remember it. Because just to go do it once and get a lesson for like an hour, you're not going to really remember it. Like you need to kind of get out there and do it again. But like, so they've gone and they've worked on their paddle strokes on flat water, and then I do this like move, and by the end of the class, like they're doing it. And it just, it's creating showing them something and then making it possible for them and bringing that belief forward. And I think that's something that I got given to me in the community when I started paddling, was there's times that like, it's like, I don't know, and they're just like, oh, just try it, you can do it. And there was this encouragement. So it's like believing in the impossible, and that was something that like I want to give back now too as well. Like some people look at where I'm at in my, like, I don't want to call it a career because it doesn't really pay. But where I am with paddling, like with where I've gotten to with like support. Proficient. You could probably call me semi-professional paddleboarder, but all of that has come with support of others. And like, I'm just gonna like say honestly right now, to anybody that has been there, supported me, that I've supported, we've all learned from each other, and thank you, because I would not be here. So this is huge. Like, and I think that that's something that, you know, like we say, like when we accept ourselves, when we're accepted by others and we're supported by others, it solidifies that and it excels that, and it creates those roots of who we are. And I think that's like really important, and helping people to believe in the impossible sometimes. Some people won't get there, and that's okay, because that's where they are and that's where they're at. And I'm fine with that. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. So, because that's where with themselves, and that's who they are then. I'm not worried about it. It's fun to try and inspire and show people like what more can you do, like I think I've gone against the grain quite
that's your
heavily
personality. That's who you are, I think, right? Do you think that's who you are? I think that's your personality. You go against the a grain, right? There's no people like that in our society. Most people, they don't think for themselves, but you're somebody that just challenge everything and you move forward. And I guess that's where you find the sense of self, right? For constantly challenging yourself and then going towards something that you're going, right? So
growth is beautiful, I think.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us. I recently. So just trying to hook up phone. Like I'm not good at the technology thing, but we're trying to like link my phone to my TV, and like because we're trying to get the hockey game up on the TV the other day or whatever. And so we're trying to link the phone to the TV, and like lo and behold, it's like, oh, your TV is called the talking box. So I've named my TV the talking box because I think a lot of people get stuck behind a screen. And a lot of people don't realize that time, don't get me wrong, like watching a movie or relaxing is a good thing. But I think there's some times where it's like we could be doing more to grow and expand and learn more about ourselves than being stuck in front of a screen. Like I find that. So my TV's called the talking box, which is kind of goes part and part. So sorry, I know people watching TV right now, but hopefully they're getting something from this that's helping them see pieces of themselves or grow or learn something new. Like that's important to me.
Yeah, I know. If once the TV become your entertainment, you're done, right? I mean, you want to be like outside doing things, making communications, and I think a lot of people, they lost the communication aspect of things, right? And then that's it. You're done, right?
Yeah.
Right? You have nobody. You have no friends, right? So, and then we're supposed to be communion. Like our society is supposed to be, we're always supposed to be united and take care of each other, right? And then there's all these things that has separated us, right? And then from the TVs and things like that, you'll be supposed to be learning new stuff, not just watching much stuff for entertainment. So, I mean, even the movies, there's a 3-act structure, right? Which you learn something from the story of the hero, right? But I guess that's also going away, right? Things are just becoming empty entertainment, which you don't anything, right? Have you seen the movie Idiocracy?
I don't watch it. Like this is the game I can't play.
You gotta watch
Idiocracy?
Oh God.
Okay.
I tell it to everybody.
Yeah.
You gotta watch Idiocracy. Just trust me. Go
Yeah.
watch it. It's very interesting. But yeah, I mean, so what happened with the technology? Did you fix it or?
We eventually got it going.
Yeah.
We got the hockey game on TV, so I'm not technology. It's tough enough as it is. So.
Talk about how you got into instructing, right? So it's crazy. So you work full time, right?
Yeah.
And then you do this, I guess, more than full time, right?
Yeah, work a bit of overtime.
How did you manage? How did you manage these two worlds? You're in two different worlds, right?
It's a juggling act. I
Okay.
sometimes don't see wins as much as I'd like to.
Your friend
as
is
well.
at paddleboard.
Yeah, my friend. So the thing is some people are like, Kim, you should take a picture with all your friends, and they're always joking about how many paddleboards I have.
How many do you have?
Right now, I think I have 23 or 24.
They're very expensive, right?
Anywhere from it's my cheapest one right now. Anywhere from $900 to $4,200.
Make sure you leave your address on the. Make sure you leave your
You know, the
address.
thing is, but like, can you imagine trying to steal like a 16-foot paddleboard?
Look, we always look at the
Like-
size of equipment we have here.
Oh,
Me and Jeff and I, it's English, proper English. Jeff and I are proficient as hauling equipment.
Yeah, no, I just don't see someone running down the street with like a 14-foot
Hey, brother, we're getting a
paddleboard. But then it costs, right? You have that much and you have insurance on it, and you're trying to like keep track of all your stuff. So, but yeah, people have joked about me taking pictures with my paddleboards.
You have
'cause
insurance on it.
Yeah, you keep your stuff
So
protected.
you don't lose anything. We will both gain.
It's it's not about gains.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. It's interesting. If someone stole my teaching fleet, I wouldn't
what's,
be.
What's the teaching fleet?
So I have a fleet of paddleboards that are specific for teaching on the lake.
So you have
like
more than
flat water.
the 20 that you have, right?
Yeah.
You said 20. You have more
23 or something like
You have
that.
23 for yourself.
No, myself, I would have 23 is my total.
Oh.
12 of them were teachers.
12. Okay, good.
Yeah, so I have about 10 of
So
them.
you
that
have
are
12 for yourself, I guess then. Right?
somewhere.
My math, I'll tell you. I'm
I'd
the
have
guy who
to-
failed the math. Yeah.
I'd have to go through the look at all what it.
Just
what's
go take
there.
a picture, send us a look at it.
Make sure you get the address on
we
the
can
side.
put it online already.
I specifically I have a shop specifically that's built to hold all my paddleboards.
You have a shop for your paddleboard.
Yes.
Wow. Do you like do all the crazy things like waxing and polishing and then do some
No.
repairs and things like that? Some friends.
I have a friend who does a lot of repairs, and he did repairs on one of my boards because I have a few hard boards, but I have mostly inflatable. So I have, I think, 7 or 8 hard boards, and they're all inflatable boards.
What's the difference?
One use a pump to fill it full of air.
No. In the quality of the. Look, I said I failed math, but I didn't say I was.
Well, you asked the inference, you specify. Just saying.
So what's the difference in terms of, I guess,
Okay,
experience?
so let's take us right back to the basics. So if you get a Costco paddleboard, that's usually like your uniform paddleboard that's got a few different features mixed in to try and make it so close to anybody can use it and still kind of get out on the water. It's usually an inflatable. Their shape and size are built friendly for most people.
Yeah.
So I have boards that are, instead of being, most average paddleboards are probably 30 inches wide, maybe so. I have ones that are 36 for the river, because the wider they are, the more stable they are.
Yeah.
And then I have ones that are 22 inches wide, which are my race boards. So my race boards are narrow and long, so they go faster. And then I have boards that are, I have a board that's 6'7", I think it is. I'd have to go look again.
It was 6'7", 67?
So 6'7",
6'7".
but it's specifically built for river surfing. And I specifically bought it to the tidal rapid Skookumchuck down on the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah, you saw my eyes, eh?
So I have boards that are really specific that I've like bought for specific reasons and used for specific certain types of water or certain features. So the difference, like, I think people can get on an inflatable. If you're learning and you're getting out on the water and you buy yourself like a nice just inflatable to get out and go try, good. Great, you're getting on the water. Do I think there's higher quality boards out there? Yes, 110%. What you pay for, you are going to get, is my motto. If you're looking just for something super casual and recreational and you spend the $400 to $700, that's what you're going to get. It's something really casual, really But if you start spending the upper money, you're going to get boards that are built structurally stronger. You're going to get boards that are built with better glue. You're going to get boards that are built with better PVC. You're going to get boards that are higher to a higher standard. So, and that's like, and then the hard boards, like they perform differently than inflatable boards.
Well, what's the performance? Do they go faster? They're more, I guess.
It depends on the shape. Like most people, they're harder to carry.
Yeah.
Like they're sometimes can be a little bit heavier. They're a little more
so
awkward.
big. Like,
But I like hardboards specifically for like racing.
Yeah.
Because they, like my hardboards are carbon fiber. They're 14 feet long.
Oh, fancy.
Like,
do you have any carbon fiber here?
Well, that's it.
You know, some of our gear are made of carbon fiber.
It's
I don't think we have it today.
This is the thing about paddleboarding, though. It's like
expensive, right?
some are like, oh, you know, like, are you gonna go buy your mountain bike at Canadian Tire and decide to go downhill mountain biking?
Not that anything is wrong with Canadian Tire.
No, I'm not saying this. Or Costco, for that matter.
Imagine, listen, Costco, you have a ship, right?
Yeah.
Now, all they have to do is put in the system. Because you come in, they see your pictures like, sorry, no membership for you anymore.
No.
You're at the door, you see the door.
She spoke too negatively. But that's the thing, like I'm just happy if people get out on the water, but I do have a bunch of boards and they do come with specific different applications and there's different designs and some of them are older models that I like more than some of the newer models. But like I do, like specifically, like my favorite board, honestly, right now that I love paddling on whitewater is Badfish's. It's called a river shred.
Boy,
Yeah.
River shred.
It looks like a banana. It's like got this like really big arc in it.
Yeah.
So
It's like almost like a boat.
Well, that's the fun part. Like, so most paddle boards are pretty flat. But if you try and go through like river waves with flat paddle boards, you end up doing like with the rounded, you're just like, ooh. You kind of float over them, which is it's just way smoother, and it surfs better. Like it's got this nice little like convexity to it that just like sits in the river wave, and you can actually just sit in the river wave, and the thing will actually just like park itself and hang out there and surf on the river wave a lot better.
Is that something new technology they develop, or has
this design's been around for probably at least six years now.
6 years.
6 years.
So it's fairly new.
Oh, well, do you think paddleboarding on the river's probably only been around for a decade?
That's it.
Yeah. Maybe a little longer. People have been doing maybe a little longer, but really, like, it's only started to really take off in about the last 4
How did it
4 or 5
start
years.
even? Without me to the
The
history.
first people I know on the rivers were on windsurfers
Windsurfers.
on like the North Saskatchewan River in Edmonton.
And they took the.
Yeah, so they take the windsurf thing off, and then they get a paddle, and you go paddle around a windsurf board. That's my first like known interactions that I know of. Like,
Have you done windsurfing?
no, never.
You know, in Penticton, they go crazy over there. I've seen it. Like, people are like, I'm so surprised they don't hit each other.
Oh, it's so great.
Yeah.
They're
Sounds
utilizing.
fun. Right?
Well, it's you utilizing a natural force that you don't have to pay for. It doesn't involve gas.
Right?
Just
You
say
never know.
I'm not a
You never
motorhead.
know.
I'm not a
Soon
motorhead.
you might be paying for wind and stuff. I don't know.
Well, you don't know which
Rain
way we're
tax.
right?
They're talking about the rain tax somewhere. I cannot say anything.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean, right? Okay, so how did you? Oh no, before we move to how you got into the teaching.
Teaching came from wanting to give back.
We can talk about that a little bit. But I wanted to ask about something. So these inflatable, right? How strong are they? Could you go in the middle of the water and then you start deflating and you're in the middle and then you become like a sandwich in it, right? I mean, like this.
Well, it depends if people actually close their valves properly or not, as to whether or not they make it.
Imagine.
Sorry, I'm just seeing so many like.
You've seen stuff like.
I've seen so many like, and this is another like.
You've seen the sandwich, right?
I've seen people like.
You know it's failing.
You can see that you know it's failing. You know it's deflating slowly in front of them. Like you can see it and you can tell. And a lot of the times it's because people don't know that they have to close the valve on their board.
Right, like that.
Yeah, there's usually like a little like push, or it's a push and turn kind of idea.
That's like.
You'd think everybody knows that, and this is part of like when you say paddleboarding, what's the first thing that comes to mind? People picture people on a lake, standing up, maybe sitting down, possibly a beverage on the drink. That seems to be an ongoing thing that I've seen a lot of. They think bikinis, think summer hot weather. Like, and that's the image that people get in their heads when they think paddleboarding.
No angry sharks or anything like that.
No, they don't. They don't. There's not that kind of that image when when I think of paddleboarding, I think of whitewater. I think of like people in dry suits, life vests, life vests. Wear a life vest, please.
Helmet. Is helmet?
I wear a helmet on the river all times.
Good. So that's very important.
Yeah, yeah.
I have seen many people in many cities that they don't wear helmets.
Yeah.
Oh, it was one of the
So
ones.
legally, if you're on the river and you're interacting with swift water or moving water, legally I believe it's class 3 and higher, I believe it is, or class 2. So like the Nataka in Prince George is ranked about a class 1 river with a couple spots that have class 2.
Okay.
There are some rapids, like it's like Isle rapids, that bump it up, and you definitely want to be wearing a helmet if you're around that kind of stuff.
No.
So legally, you can get onto class 1 without a helmet. Legally. Is it recommended that you? It's not recommended that you wear. It's recommended you wear a helmet.
No.
So I will paddle myself on the river, and if I go out by myself, I am going out on the Nataka with a helmet on. When I'm training, if I'm paddling on the Nataka, I know there's been a few times that I haven't worn a helmet, and I'll be honest, and that's just me being honest about it. Because what I'm doing is I'm actually training, so I'm paddling upstream. I'm not paddling downstream. I'm paddling 4 kilometers upstream against the current, and I'm by myself, and I'm usually on a race board, but I am not leashed to my board ever on a river.
Why?
Never.
Why?
That's a hazard. Entanglement.
Oh, it can pull you down, right?
If your board gets hooked on something, or leash get hooked on something, and you're over here at this end, and it's on your ankle, getting to your ankle when you're floating upside down in the river with your head downstream.
You carry a blade on you just in case you have to cut
I
something?
do have a knife.
What kind of knife?
It's a river knife. It sits right in my life vest. Like
You
it's
have it
right
right now?
I don't have it, but I always reach. I know where it is. That's automatic.
How big is it? Is it like what?
The blade's about that big.
And then
It's kind of serrated on one side and smooth on the other.
Has it saved you?
I've never had to use it because I have what we call a quick release. So I have a quick release mechanism that allows me to get away from my board. Allows me to basically unclip and my board go that way and I go that way. So that I can get away from the hazard. Because if my board and my leash ever were to become a hazard, I need to be able to get away from it. So if ever you're on the river, I'm going to say is please, there's been deaths. Just so people know, like people this is the alarming
reality, right?
thing.
It's reality.
You go by your Costco board, you're going down the local lazy river, you strap your ankle leash on.
Without training, right?
And then it's just, and I wish that's a little more common knowledge. Like there was 3 fatalities in the States last year because people were wearing an ankle leash on water. They got, one was wrapped around a buoy in near the mouth of this kind of like lake river area, and he got wrapped around the buoy, couldn't get back, and he didn't make it. Another woman, her board got stuck on something. She ended up head downstream, board stuck on something.
Oh,
she couldn't get to her ankle. And it's just that if you're going to go on the river and you don't have a quick release, then don't wear a leash. But it's my biggest fear. Like, how many bridges do we have in Prince George?
How many?
How many do we have?
3?
We have Foothills.
Yeah.
We have Highway 97 North.
Yeah.
We have Kearney Street Bridge.
Yeah.
Okay. We have Highway 16 East.
Holy,
We have Highway 97 South.
Yeah.
We have 5 major bridges in Prince George. 5 of them. On each one of those bridges, there's multiple pillars. Oh, we also have the train bridge, which is well over 100 years old here in Prince George. So we actually have 6 bridges.
There's no water there, is it still?
Well,
it's dry.
We're dry right now.
It's terrible.
But if you think about it, you have 6 bridges in Prince George that if people are wearing a leash and something happens, you can end up on one side or the other of the pillar. Your board could be on one side, you could be on the other side pillar of that bridge. So it's just a thing to kind of think about. Is just please don't just learn, like ask questions. If you're going to be curious, I want you to grow. I want people to experience this. I want people to do this. Like that's part of why I got into instructing, was because I want to support the community, because this sport has given me so much, and I would love to be able to give back to others in any way to help them find their adventure, what skills they want to learn, so that they can do what they want to do when it comes to the water. It doesn't have to be the river. It could be doing an overnight trip off your paddleboard. It could be learning how to paddle straight. It could be learning how to paddle in the wind. Whatever. Like it doesn't matter. Like I can teach all that stuff. But like that's why I got into teaching, was because I want people to have the knowledge so that they can have the empowerment in order to be able to go do. And I think that's really important.
It saved you from death, right? I mean, it's very important.
Yeah.
Talk about some of the things you teach now, right?
So like specific lessons, specific skills.
Talk about how it starts, and then how far can you take people? Let's say I'm a beginner.
So
I want to be
let's go to the lake. Always it's like, well, you wouldn't buy a mountain bike and go try and ride downhill over just when you couldn't even ride down the street.
So talk about how does when somebody comes and become a student, right?
So we start off introduction kind of to gear,
Yeah.
and I do expose people to different levels of gear right away,
Yeah.
from like something you would buy in your kind of, here we go, Costco. Sorry,
Costco keeps going. Love Costco. Costco, I love you.
No,
Don't
Canadian
even,
Tire, London Drugs.
don't-
You buy your board backpack.
Boop, boop.
Your board.
You were talking
you-
about those.
Your board comes with.
Yeah.
Okay, then but the thing there's specialized stores too.
No.
That like sell different paddleboards and different products that you would that I don't know. There's so much. But like, so if you came along, would be an introduction to your gear. Like, what do you have? What's the leash for? What parts of the board?
Yeah.
We'd learn how to carry the board. We'd learn how to launch and land. We'd learn how to like stand up on the board.
Yeah.
And like be through, like some people that would come very naturally and very easily. But there's some people that like getting those skills together and really understanding the body mechanic of it doesn't come naturally. So we kind of get that going. And then I try and teach you guys how to paddle straight and how to turn your board so you can have control of your vessel. And that all happens on the flat water. And then we can go advanced and then start to move our feet around on the board. And then so we can do different footwork and how it
What
applies.
is that? Different footwork?
So,
You're dancing on it? Or?
well, I can walk the board like you see the surfers walk the board.
On the board?
Yeah.
I thought you were talking like putting your feet in the water.
No, you can like I can walk the board from tail. So
But you
and
have to have a good balance, right?
yeah, but that all comes, right? So like there's different stances. You can be standing like neutral, square, you can be standing staggered, you can be standing surf. There's multiple different ways you can stand on a paddleboard, and there's easy ways to teach people how to get into those stances and what they're used for and why they're used.
Yeah.
And then we can get an advanced turn, like pivot turns. People love turns.
What is pivot turns?
Pivot turn is where you actually bring the board and you actually take the board and you stand it right up on end, and then you actually turn it. You like pivot it around and
So
like
those
set it back
motorcycle
down.
things, right?
Yeah, you can say like doing a wheelie. They do that in racing, by the way. Like paddleboard racing is mean what people can do.
What can they do?
Like-
This is getting so exciting.
Oh, it's awesome. Like you see, so they'll do it on the ocean,
Yeah.
and they do it on boards that are 14 feet long.
14 feet.
And
14 feet.
14 feet by could be 18 inches wide.
Yeah.
When you think about 18 inches, 18 inches is like what? About there, maybe 22. It's 18, somewhere around there. Like that's not very wide. They're on these like narrow, fast boards, and they go out into the surf, and they'll literally go through the surf as the waves breaking. They'll go up through the surf, and land these boards and carry on racing. And then they'll go do a big pivot turn,
Yeah.
big technical pivot turn
Yeah.
around a buoy,
Yeah.
and then they come back in and they surf
Yeah.
back in, and then they have to do a lap on the beach. They go around another not it's not a buoy, like a beacon on the beach with their board, and then they have to like launch again, go over the surf, out to the other buoy, do a turn, and then come back and surf in order to get the finish line.
That's crazy. And
It's
then-
phenomenal to watch. There's so like it's really fun. I have raced before. I don't like racing. Like I'm not competitive.
Why not?
Why? Because I'm here to share.
So you don't like to race? You like racing?
I like putting my head down and seeing what I can do.
Okay.
I don't care who I beat. I don't care where I end up.
Oh, racing is a competition. I thought you doing that for yourself for the racing. I didn't know.
Racing I do for myself,
No,
but
no,
it's
no.
a competition.
Also, there's a competition.
There's-
I didn't thought it was competition. I thought
Yeah.
it's just people something doing for
No,
themselves.
there's Board the Forge, I think it's
Yeah.
called, and that's happening in the Indian Arm down in the Lower Mainland.
Yeah.
I think it's at the end of May.
Yeah.
And then there's another race outside of Calgary called G20 that happens at the beginning of
That sounds
July.
from G20.
It's a pretty fun event. So they do like distance, either sprints or long distance races. And I think Edmonton
Yeah.
usually has a race too as well.
Yeah.
So there's multiple places that races. There was a big race in the Okanagan, sadly. They called it the Kalamalka Classic. It was around for so long, and now they didn't run it the last couple of years. I was going to go last year.
Why?
I believe the people that own the shop that used to organize the race sold the shop, is what I heard. So the like paddleboard shop, like kind
I
of
think I
little
know where
surf
it is. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I went there a couple of times.
Yeah, so it's, but I think they sold, is what I heard is they sold the shop, so they weren't running the race anymore. COVID really put a
COVID destroyed a lot of businesses.
it put a big damper on on a few events for sure, which is kind of sad for sure.
I hope everything correct.
Yeah, and then there's whitewater competitions too, where people like race down the river head to head, and they have to go around certain buoys and into certain eddies, and
Yeah.
there's lots of different things can happen. And it's all on paddleboards. People wouldn't know that.
That's
It's
crazy.
crazy. So like the instructing and like getting you out to go full so come back around is it would be my thing is where are you at? What do you want to learn?
Yeah.
And like where do you want to get to? And how can I show you something that may inspire you? Like what can because the sport isn't just it can be but it isn't just the lazy afternoon Sunday after on the lake. The sport itself is there's so much more. There's races in Korea. There's races in like
So it's a huge
Thailand.
community.
It's crazy. It's everywhere. Like it's just growing. Massive race, Carolina, South Carolina Cup, and that's a crazy race to watch. Like these athletes are just incredible. Like I'm hoping to do a couple international races in the next couple of years.
So where do you see your whole thing now?
Now,
What do you see is going to happen in the future? Like what are you going for?
at this point, I'd like to train for myself a bit, for sure. That's always a piece of it.
Yeah.
Where I see it going, I'd like to more of a community here in Prince George that has a little more adventure behind the waterways. Like that's something I still would like to see come around. Where do I see me going or the sport going?
You. The sport, is going to be whatever. But where do you see you going? Like what is your plan?
Well, I know I've had to focus on my career because there's been a lot of talk of mills potentially curtailing.
What do you mean curtailing?
So, well, there's been talk of the mills curtailing, having to shut down because of fiber shortages.
Fiber shortages.
Yeah, in the north.
Why don't they do the hemp? You can grow hemp. There's a specific type of hemp you can grow in 3 months. There's a lady in the United States that she does it. In 3 months, she grows all this crazy amount of hemp. And then you can use it almost.
The thing is we got to get innovative.
That's what I'm saying. She's innovative, but they're trying to shut it down everywhere she goes. Though, right? But she is doing it in some countries, and they're flourishing.
Yeah.
But in 3 months, you could these things are this fat, like thick, right? But in 3 months, and they give you like so much material.
We have to progress and we have to move forward. So part of my life lately has been to focus on my career. So where do I see myself in the next couple of years? I want to facilitate and still try and continue to grow a community here in Prince George, where I'm from. I'm supporting, I'm still sponsored, so I'm still supporting other events throughout the province, other whitewater events and other locations, and I'm actually supporting the G20 race this year. I'm going to be down there helping out, and I'm not racing this year because of my injury, but I'm hoping that I can get back to full strength by the end of the season this year, and then I can start to look into how I can continue to paddle throughout the winter and train, and then be able to move that into next year and maybe do a couple more big races next year. And continue to paddle rivers because that's just fun. Even though it's scary for some. But it's just fun.
It's not scary at all.
Yeah.
You know where you got to go, but you go at the right time, right? That's the reality of life. So that's here for anything, because I guess that's hold you back. Anything else you want to talk about before we finish?
I just want to talk about.
Anything else you want to talk about?
I don't know. It seems. I just don't want people to.
No.
I don't want people to give up or to stop.
Talk about that a little
or to
bit.
go
Talk
away.
about how important it is not to give up and following your passion. All right? Talk about that, because you're an individual that you really follow your passion. That's why you're so happy and you're relaxed. You're very energy. Everything's so relaxed, right? So
Yeah.
because you're doing what you love, right? Now, if you did something you hated, you would be sitting here. It'd be like dark clouds and rain and things like that. So talk about why is it so important to follow your passion and not give up.
And just because I think just because you're slowing down, you're not stopping. I think is another big thing. I think people don't feel like nowadays there's so much instant gratification.
No.
You need to change the oil on your vehicle or change your brakes on your vehicle. You can look on YouTube. You can find all the information. And I think I think people really think unless they're achieving, unless you're doing that backflip on your snowboard, unless you're getting that straight A or you've got that diploma already, your progression is at a different pace. I think, which is really important. Because it's just because you're slowing down, you're still moving forward, and I think that's really important. I don't want people to just, especially with injuries or pain, it doesn't mean you give up. It means you get adaptable. And you look at things differently. You look at for other things. And yes, you are going to mourn. If you have to move on from something, you are going to mourn that. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to find something later on. Something's not going to grow. Something's not going to come of. And I just don't want people especially with how our society's going with the economy and everything, it's getting harder.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And we have to look at what we can do, what agency we can have in the life around ourselves, and hopefully everyone says be grateful for what you have, but it's just I'd say just appreciate certain things, and it's just I don't want people to give up. Like I don't want to see things dwindle. Like how many times have we adapted as a species, and how many times have we've gone through the Industrial Revolution and all kinds of stuff along the way, so I don't swear. But like we've done a lot, and I think we can do more. And we're highly intelligent. And as individuals, we can progress forward. I just don't want to see people stop or give up at this point in time. And I think that's really important, is to keep trying.
Where can people find you? You know.
Oh.
Do you have a website?
Usually on the water is usually one place they can find me. I might go there this afternoon, actually. So my full name is Kimberly Kenyon. Okay. Kimberly spelled with an L-E-Y. Okay. Kenyon is spelled Kenyon. No. I'm on Facebook under my full name. No. And my company name is Born to Board.
Oh wow, I like that.
Yeah, so not a number 2, it's a T-O. Yeah. Borntoboard.ca, because I'm Canadian, CA. So, and that's my webpage. It's I'm not as active, I'd say, on my webpage or really on my book. The one piece I'm more on is Instagram, and that's still under the tag of borntoboard.ca. So
what is your website?
Website is borntoboard.ca.
Okay.
Yeah.
I cannot pronounce it.
It's okay.
My tongue will stop. Okay,
yeah. And I think it's just about it really is about reaching out. Like if people do want to find out more, like just go for a paddle. Like just like message me, email me, like because that's not like I'm usually
always up for it, right?
I'm on the water. Like if I'm not in the mill or stuck behind books, because now I'm taking my 4th class power engineering. If I'm not behind my books or in the mill, I'm probably on the water. Like so, and that's the usual. It's slightly obsessive, but it's.
Life, you never know when you're
I
don't know when you're gonna go.
It's just I enjoy it so much.
You enjoy life, right?
Yeah, I love the water.
Okay, that's beautiful. So, thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Yeah.
This was very fun, and I'm just gonna finish it up. I have to finish it up. You know?
Finish. Oh, official. Yeah.
You ready?
Ready.
Thank you very much for.
Which one?
This happens all the time. So you can look. You're looking over there, right? Thank you very much for joining us on this episode of BBC on Location. I hope you learned something new, and I hope that if you're going to be paddleboarding, you'll be safe, as you learn from an expert